Spider-Man 2 is aggressively mid. Rep shrinking is phenomenal, massive W's there. The gameplay is aight, but the story is where I come in to complain. Now, if you're one of the 2 people that actually watch my videos, hi mom, then you will know that I did one of these videos before with Mortal Kombat 1, and I will be doing the same type of format for this game. Luckily for me, unlike Mortal Kombat, I'm more familiar with Spider-Man, the comics, movies, TV shows, games, cartoons, all of them. There are some things I don't know, but at least some of the things that they do mention and reference in the game, I do know about from the comics. And it's pretty sick how much from the comics they used, then put their own little twist on it to make a unique story. For example, Kraven's Last Hunt, Anti-Venom, Agent Venom, Venom. There's a lot to talk about here, and we'll talk about it when it comes up in the story. But before we really start the video, just know, even though I think this game is mid, that doesn't mean I hate it, and it doesn't mean I love it and think it's a flawless masterpiece. I've got a few bones to pick with this one. It seems like these days nothing seems to make me happy anymore. There are a lot of flaws in this game's story and gameplay. For example, the suits. In the last game, you could unlock suits, and each suit had their own little gimmick to them based on the lore of the suits from the comics or whatever. Cool stuff. But in this game, none of the suits have powers. You unlock them for cosmetics, and that's it. In the last game, you can crip at people because that was the suit's gimmick. In this game, you can do nothing with these suits. In the gadgets, in the last game, you got like 10 different gadgets. In this game, you get 4. Now look, when I watch people play Spider-Man 2018, I rarely ever see anybody really use gadgets outside of stealth missions. But me personally, I mess with them sometimes. I think the problem Insomniac saw was that the gadgets were cool to have, but it's not really necessary to use, the rep shooters being the only exception. So for most people, they didn't really use them. I don't mind that there are less gadgets. I don't care for them like that, but I can see some people having a problem with not having the same gadgets as the last game. Because combat-wise, it kind of feels like you're playing a lesser version of the last game. I think the combat took a couple steps back. Okay, look, now before the video actually starts, I have to admit something. Some of my complaints are nitpicks, but I'm still gonna complain about it. Piss off. Anyway, the game opens up with Norman Osborn giving Harry the symbiote, then having this goofy transition of him getting shut in a pod. This was kind of funny to me, I'm not even gonna lie. The game actually opens up with Peter Parker running late to his new job as a teacher, and Miles, being the best boy in the game, helps him out with his outfit. Unfortunately for our boy Peter, Sandman pulls up and starts making a ruckus, forcing Peter and Miles to handle him. But before they get to make sandcastles using Marco's body, Miles had the urge to embarrass Peter and himself by implying he needs Peter's help to use the bathroom. They head out of the room, and Peter and Miles immediately blow their secret identity by using their powers in school. Look, I don't care what you say. I've attended 12 different schools, and there were always cameras everywhere, including the stairway. They definitely blew their covers here, and it's even more suspicious when the rebs are attached to the stairs. Like, come on, man. Nobody found this suspicious? The teacher leaves, then all of a sudden Spider-Man beats Sandman, and shortly after beating Sandman, the teacher comes back. Like, come on, y'all. You can rub some brain cells together. Like, I'm just saying. Anyway, Peter and Miles both are called Spider-Man, and okay, I want to talk about it. I'm not a fan of Miles being called Spider-Man 2. Let my man have his own identity. Miles can be a spider person, but not Spider-Man. There's only one, and his name is Peter Parker. Miles should have his own identity with his own name that's spider-themed. They've done this with a lot of other spider people like Spider-Punk, Noir Spider, Scarlet Spider, Ghost Spider, Silk, Blood Spider, Madam Reb, etc, etc. Like, I'll be here all day. These spider people have their own thing going on, but still themed after a spider. See, Miles needs something like that. I honestly hate him being called Spider-Man 2 because it removes all individuality from him. And it doesn't help that all of his villains are Peter's villains, with the exception of Tinkerer in this game's universe. Miles having his own hero name would really help him a lot and remove him from Peter Parker's shadow. And by the way, before anybody complains, we know this works for a fact. Look at DC. You have Robin, Robin, Robin. You have like a million different types of Robins. But Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, they both started off as Robin, but grew up to have their own identity. Dick Grayson being Nightwing and Jason Todd being Red Hood. They both removed themselves from Batman and they can have their own thing, their own stories without being in Batman's shadow. That is what we need for Miles. But we're never going to get that if he's using the same name as Peter Parker, that being Spider-Man. Which, by the way, saying Miles is Spider-Man is so wrong because you say Spider-Man, what's everybody thinking? It's Peter Parker. Nobody's thinking Miles Morales unless you say the Black Spider-Man or Miles Morales, which in my opinion hurts Miles' character. Whenever there's a comic book, video game even, where Miles is the main guy, they put his government name in the title. Again, you don't have this issue with Jason Todd or Dick Grayson. Just give my man his own identity. He has one in some Spider-Man media, like he's called Kid Arachnid in Ultimate Spider-Man, and I think he's called Spidey in the 2017 show, which, let's be honest, those names suck all kinds of donkey balls, but at least it's something. I'd even accept Spider-Man, but without the hyphen. Miles being called Spider-Man with the hyphen makes a lot more sense in the comic books because when Miles put up as Spider-Man, the OG Spider-Man died. In this game though, Peter and Miles are both being referred to as Spider-Man is mad annoying because when they talk, it says Spider-Man with a little emoji next to it so you know which one's talking. Can you imagine being deaf and colorblind? Well, now you're just screwed. You don't know what's going on anymore. Man, whatever. You chase down the Sandman and oh my gosh, the web swinging is so sexy. Golly, man. Seriously, this game makes Spider-Man 2018 feel like a prototype when it comes to the web swinging. I don't see how you could ever go back to Spider-Man 2018 ever again after getting your hands on this web swinging system. Anyway, you chase down Sandman and fight Sandman clones and nope, full stop, this is stupid. There is no reason to fight these Sandmen because they're not Marco. He doesn't feel this pain. It's not even hurting him. And once you beat them, they can just come back. It's an infinite fight. And I'm so mad at this. This is the first enemy in the game. Like, that's dumb. This game is dumb. Okay, maybe this game isn't that dumb because, geez Louise, this fight is insane. Real quick though, I am a bit bothered by how Spider-Man throughout this entire game seems like he's unable to keep up anymore. It's like he gets knocked down for the count a lot in this game and somebody else ends up having to save him. We'll get to it when it comes up in the story, but it just feels weird. Like, if Sandman is capable of doing this, even on a smaller scale, how did a younger, much more inexperienced Peter Parker take him down by himself? Miles and Peter both were barely able to do it themselves, and Miles was the one that really stopped him in this game. Bro, why'd they just stop moving here? Like, they're floating. They're floating right now. Seeing Spider-Man swimming is so uncanny. Like, this does not feel right. After all these years of playing Spider-Man games, you couldn't swim. The moment you get in the water, you're forced back to land. And now you can just do it. I don't like it. This doesn't feel right. Sandman gets defeated and you get a basic tutorial of how the game works. But before that, we see Kraven starts planning his move to go to New York to find a worthy opponent. Kraven is literally that Kung Fu Panda meme. Like, Kraven is that guy. Alright, real quick, from my knowledge, Kraven is just some regular dude that relies on his strength, brains, sticks, and stones to fight people. He's able to fight people with superhuman powers and win. He's Batman and Iron Man without the billion-dollar gadgets. Like, he's him. He's that guy. Himmy Neutron. Himmy Turner. Him and Himmy. Okay, let me stop. I'll stop. You save J. Jonah Jameson, then the Spider-Men return to their civilian clothes, and Peter gets a firm talking to. Then he gets fired. Hold on. Are we sure this game takes place in New York? You're telling me there are people that are not only kind, but also people that's willing to learn sign language to communicate with a deaf girl and be her friend? This makes the deepest, coldest part of my almost non-existent heart warm. But of all the things that happens in this universe, this has to be the most unbelievable thing I've seen. Ah yes, a deaf girl. Let me learn sign language so I can be your friend. But like, this ain't happening in New York. This is seriously so unrealistic. I'm okay with all of this, but I draw the line here. Even when they're not talking to her directly, they're still doing sign language around her, so she isn't left out of the conversation. That's pretty cool. I like that. Peter goes to Aunt May's house, which is now his house. Peter goes through some of his old stuff, and we get some wholesome flashbacks of Aunt May. Shortly after, Harry makes his grand return and sees Peter and Mary Jane. He's crippled, but like not really. He can walk, but he needs some help with the cane, so he's not entirely crippled, but also he seems to be just fine without it. I don't know how this works. Anyway, he takes Peter out for a bike ride to their high school. Okay, I'll be honest. I got upset by this scene. My dude, you're riding a bike in the middle of the road. If I was in a car riding behind them, I'd be heated. Like, ride your bikes on the sidewalk. Why were you people born this way? Also, again, this game is super unrealistic. I'm okay with superpowers and aliens and magic and all this weird stuff, but I draw the line at you being able to peacefully bike ride and not see somebody get murdered or hear gunshots or see drug dealers dealing drugs or some type of crime. Like, look how peaceful this is. We all know this ain't New York. I should see people getting mugged out here. Right, okay, so Harry takes Peter to their high school and we get a flashbacks to when they broke into school to get back a USB. The scene is pretty fun, and for some reason it reminded me a lot of Life is Strange, where you basically do the same thing. Breaking into school and sneaking around. Okay, wait a minute. If you ever attended a school before, you know this would not support Peter's rate. The wind of a moist fart would make these things move and shuffle around. Like, this actually would collapse and send Peter falling to the ground literally the moment he sticks to it. Alright, so Peter runs into Harry and these two are practically yelling at each other. Like, there's no way the janitor isn't hearing this. They're not that far from him, like at all. And this is a mostly empty building right now. Peter and Harry talking at any level will be echoing throughout the entire floor. Wow, that's crazy. The game developers added a basketball system so you can use it one time ever in this entire game and then never use it again. Like, why bother doing this? Peter and Harry gets caught, then leaves the high school, but we get thrown back into the past one more time to see Harry receive news that his mother has passed away. I know Norman is rich and powerful, but like, can he just do that? Throughout this entire game, Norman would go somewhere and land his helicopter wherever he wants. Like, he lands his helicopter in the middle of the road later in this game. Outside of GTA 5, I've never seen anything like this before in a serious setting, and it feels so weird. Anyway, Harry tells Peter he started a business and it's named after the dead mother figures. We jump to Kraven and he gets news that Sandman got arrested, and he's very disappointed. Look, I know earlier I said Kraven is that guy, but like, there's literally no way he can beat Sandman. We jump to Miles and he's being the most Gen Z person ever. Like, bro, how lazy can you be? Wait, this isn't lazy. This actually looks mad annoying. This setup feels like it's all kinds of messed up. You tap a key and that computer's gonna be wobbling back and forth. And this angle just looks uncomfortable too. Miles, like, what's wrong with you? If you don't set your laptop down on your lap, you little freak. Anyway, Miles is having trouble writing his personal statement, and he wants an excuse to not do that. So he suits up and immediately blows his secret identity. Again. My man crawls out of the window of his apartment, then puts on his mask in broad daylight. Like, are you kidding me? In the current day, there would be cameras, phones, people recording everywhere and everything. But even leaving the technology part aside, this is in broad daylight and Miles is pretty close to the ground. Literally anybody slightly up this sidewalk would be able to see him and be like, hold up, Spider-Man just came out of that apartment and he's black or something. Point is, his secret identity is non-existent right now. They do this multiple times in the game, by the way. Like, how did you guys keep your identities a secret for this long? And whoa, okay, I cannot let this one slide. Hey, Insomniac, you do know Miles Morales is Puerto Rican, right? So why does he have a Cuban flag up in his home? Like, how do you mess up your representation this badly? Come on, man. I know you had to Google the Puerto Rican flag at least once for this scene. So how did you not notice this? You have a team of like 500 people and had playtesters and researchers. Because there are things characters talk about in the game you can't just know off of the top of your head. You had to put some level of research into it, and you're telling me nobody noticed the not Puerto Rican flag in the Puerto Rican family's home? Moving on, Miles and Peter make sure the villain shipment goes smoothly, since these people are dangerous. But unfortunately for the Spider-Men, Kraven and his people attack the ship to retrieve Scorpion and Vanos Gaming, Martin Lee. Things are looking pretty bad for our spider people. Miles goes into the ships to save people and help them not die. But he gets tricked by Scorpion and gets hit with some venom that starts tripping the worst kind of balls. He snaps out of it, then thinks about saving Vanos, but before he gets the chance to save him, Kraven and his people decide to save him first. The situation keeps getting worse and worse, and honestly, low-key, these people deserve to die. Like, how do you look at something like this and not think, maybe I shouldn't be here. I'm gonna back off a little bit. But nah, they're watching all of this happen, then they react literally when it's too late to do anything. Like, are you people serious right now? Vanos Gaming escapes, then he gets kidnapped again. Miles like, nah, I'm trying to get this revenge in, then starts playing tug of war with Martin Lee's body. But Peter is desperately trying to get him to let go and help him save the people because, people are going to die. Miles lets go of Vanos Gaming so he can go off to make more Gmod videos. Then he saves the people by destroying the propeller. Now, me personally, if I was Peter, I would be hot. Like, my boy, you're really gonna let a bunch of people die so you can get some revenge? Miles is consistently the worst character in this game now. Just blowing his identity whenever he gets the chance to. My man's really out here saying Peter's government name like they're not wearing their spider suits.
Pete, when I saw Lee inside that ship...
If I was Peter, I'd be even more upset. Like, my dude, you cannot be saying my government name, first and last name out here in public like this. What's wrong with you, Miles? Aaron Davis, Miles is his uncle, calls him to settle some things. Miles makes sure Aaron is done being the Prowler and, dang Miles, calm down. Why you screw up like that? Aaron gets Miles to get rid of some old tech that he needs to get off the streets, and yet again, Miles is blowing his secret identity. There's no way this can happen and not a single soul witnessing this. Anybody would be able to see this. Like, I don't care if this is a nitpick. This is mad annoying. My immersion is gone. Harry shows Peter the business they're starting. It's called Emily May Foundation. And this whole road trip with Peter and Harry is Harry emotionally manipulating Peter into agreeing to be his business partner. Come on, man. Harry pulls up, have this romantic ass bike ride to high school, then they reminisce about the time they're in high school, getting this USB, and that just so happens to be the day Harry finds out his mother passed away. Harry, Peter might not be able to see it, but I see it. I know what you're doing here. Harry is actually a villain in this game. Some Peter gameplay later and we cut to Kraven and he straight up murders Scorpion. By the way, in this game, Kraven kills a bunch of villains off screen. Vulture, Electro, Shocker, and I'm actually pissed by this. Way before this game came out, I was hoping, begging they would do a Spider-Man the Animated Series Easter egg where Peter with the symbiote would do the scene from the cartoon.
Get back here, Shocker! Shocker!
But nah, we get every other Spider-Man meme and reference, but the one that would have been so good, we don't get because of course we don't. We cut to Miles and he has a thing with Black Cat. We see her steal Doctor Strange's magic shtick thing. I don't remember what this is called, but we chase her down because that's all we can ever do with Black Cat in Spider-Man games. I hated those missions in Spider-Man 2. No, not this one. No, not that one either. Bro, the OG Spider-Man 2. Miles helps Black Cat to get to Paris, and we never see her again for the rest of this game. And I'm starting to realize you could actually cut Miles out of this game, and most of it will play out the same. I didn't notice this earlier, but Miles' mission can literally just not exist. He's only needed for the last quarter or so of the game. That's not a good sign. Peter, Harry, MJ, Miles, and Genki pulls up to a carnival. You get some cute banner, then Kraven's goons arrive and kidnaps Tombstone, who's trying to turn away from the life of crime. And I'll be honest, I kind of hate this roller coaster scene. Something about it just feels off. Peter gets himself in a very messed up situation, holding 2 roller coasters in the tracks. This is the pickliest of pickles to be in. Luckily for him, Harry pulls up and saves the day with his superpowers, and he lifts the roller coaster tracks. The day is saved. Nicely done, fellas. Peter and Harry starts bonding because now they know each other's secrets. The two goes to their company building and starts horseplaying around with the symbiote. Norman isn't too happy about the mess they made though. We go out to save Tombstone as Peter, and Harry pulls up looking like Agent Venom, and it's a comic book thing. Personally, if I was Peter, I'd be kind of mad. Like, Harry, I'm the OG Spider-Man, and there's a black Spider-Man copying me, and now you pull up copying my whole flow too. Word for word, bar for bar. He even takes Peter's Spider-Man logo at the end of this mission. Like, come on, man. Are you serious? We cut to MJ, and of course, Insomniac doubles down and brings back the stealth missions with her. The only complaint most people had with the first game was the MJ missions. Like, they're actual garbage juice. Then Insomniac is like, nah, we gotta keep them. Like, bro, why? I honestly hate how MJ, this regular human being, is able to sneak around and tase Kraven's men. It made more sense in the last game, but in this game, MJ shouldn't be able to get away with this with Kraven's people. These people are trained hunters and insanely powerful and strong enough for Kraven to want to be around in his party. That makes them worthy on some level. MJ should not be able to do this. I'm just saying. We're in the, I think, halfway point in the game. Kraven injects Dr. Carnage with the thing that turned him into a lizard. Spider-Man Agent Venom with MJ fights Kraven's people a little bit, and Peter gets stabbed and almost dies. Harry's symbiote gets transferred over to Peter, and he gets healed up. I briefly mentioned this earlier, but this is also what I mean when I say Peter gets knocked down for the count way too often in this game. Same thing happened with the Tombstone mission. Now look, I know, you have more superpowered people that's on the good side, and they need to be useful somehow in this game. But you don't need to make my main man feel weaker. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm not remembering the first Spider-Man game that well, but I'm pretty sure the only time Peter was in actual danger was when he was getting jumped by 6 other superpowered niggas. But even then, he got up and went back to work with 14 broken bones, and he drops the hardest line in Spider-Man 2018.
I need to get back to work.
The doctor said you still have 14 broken bones.
Which means I have 192 non-broken ones. Thanks for taking care of me, by the way.
Seriously, is it just me or am I tripping? I feel like they made Peter a little bit weaker in this game. Anyway, Peter tries giving the symbiote back, but it doesn't work. Peter has a plan to go save Dr. Connors, transform him back into a human so he can remove the symbiote from Peter and give it back to Harry. We go looking for clues by Snoopy duping around in Kraven's little get-together. Peter pretends to be one of the raiders and for some reason thinks this massive slab of raw steak is for a human to eat. I know these people aren't exactly normal and there's no real reason to assume they're talking about an animal, but you would at least be like, am I delivering this to a human being? Or something, I don't know. Peter even gets clowned up for this by Kraven's men. Peter gets some clues, then heads to find Kraven, but Kraven is a few steps ahead. Kraven knew Spider-Man would pull up and they have a little scuffle inside of the church. And during the little fight, Kraven finds out what Peter's weakness is, that being the bell sounds. Peter has had enough, then leaves Kraven in the church after taking the vial. Unfortunately for Peter, Kraven put a tracking device on it and followed Peter back to the Emily May Foundation. They destroy the building. Norman pulls up in his helicopter and just parks this in the middle of the road. Like, bro, really? Is this legal? Harry is sad about the foundation and does a hand motion telling us where it's at, but like, he pointed at some trees. The foundation is on the right side, Harry. Like, it's in your face. How do you mess up so badly? Moving on, Peter and Miles finds the lizards in a very cool mission. You chase him down from the water into the city while fighting Kraven's goons. Eventually, you save Dr. Carnage, then turn him back into a human. Carnage says, hey, you know that symbiote thing? Yeah, it's dangerous. We need to destroy it. But Peter's like, nah, this suit makes me a good Spider-Man and I need it. Alright, look. I know the symbiote changes your personality and how you think, blah, 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 whatever. But like, we did all of this for the sole purpose of saving Harry. Peter knows he has to at least give up the symbiote, but he doesn't want to give it up. So like, Peter, why'd you do any of this? The symbiote was already affecting Peter's mind way before Dr. Connors even said they need to destroy it. And after this point in the game, Dr. Connors is gone. Okay, not really. He calls you a few times. Peter returns home and falls asleep. My man's really going through it. Kraven's people pulls up to Peter's house, and while asleep, Peter starts beating them up. Well, the symbiote is beating them up by using Peter's body. Miles arrives, and for the first time in freaking forever, he's relevant in the main story. Then he gets kidnapped, and the symbiote takes Peter to some random place in New York so he can sleep on a bench. Peter pulls up to Harry's place, and Harry is like, Peter, I'm dying, please, I need the suit. But Peter's like, nah, I need it. This part doesn't make sense.
I'm busting my ass out there trying to save you, and this is what I get?
You were supposed to save Dr. Connors and give the suit back to Harry so he doesn't die. How are you saving him if you're not trying to make an alternative cure? You're not going to give him the symbiote, and you're not making a cure. That thought doesn't come up until later in the game. So what do you mean trying to save you? Anyway, we cut to Miles and he's fighting to impress Kraven. This dude really thinks he's Shao Kahn. Kraven gets Miles to fight Martin Lee, aka Vanoss Gaming. Martin Lee is really out here trying to get some character development though. Anyway, Miles wins and throws Martin Lee out of Kraven's building and tells him to get the other Spider-Man for help. But like, you both could have escaped. There's literally no reason for Miles to not escape immediately. There are no barriers, no barbed wire or anything stopping him. Miles could just leave. Peter pulls up to save Miles, then Miles is like, hey Peter, that symbiote is messing up your head. You're gonna have to get this working real quick. So as Miles, you fight Peter, and I was gonna call some major BS on this fight, because there's no way Miles is beating Peter Parker in a fight, especially when he has the symbiote suit. You guys got me tilted if you really think Miles can beat Peter. But for this battle, I can let it slide a little bit, because Miles is beating up Peter, but Peter is beating up Peter. That kind of sounds messed up. What I mean is, Miles is fighting the symbiote taking over Peter's body, and Peter is trying to fight the symbiote too. So this isn't really Miles beating Peter up, it's more like Miles and Peter fighting the symbiote. So Miles technically winning this fight, I suppose I can allow. Miles really hits us with the Bakugo move. Like, don't think I didn't notice this, Insomniac. I watch anime too. Peter takes the symbiote to get it destroyed, but Harry was waiting for Peter, I guess. Peter is sorry for what he's done and said, and Harry isn't having any of it. And for some reason, the symbiote that rejected Harry before is all of a sudden wholeheartedly embracing him and makes him a lot bigger and stronger. One thing I don't understand about the symbiote in every iteration of Spider-Man is whenever Peter gets it, his suit changes, but not his size. But when anybody else gets it, they grow like 8 feet taller and ripped. Why doesn't Peter Parker get built like Hulk Hogan when he gets the suit? Like, serious question. Everybody else gets bigger and stronger, but Peter Parker, he's just regular normal size. We play as Harry for a little bit and we kill Kraven. Whoa, wait, wait, what? Just like that? Low key? Like, dead ass? You for real? You build this guy up as a big, massive threat, and you fight him as not Peter Parker, but as Harry with the symbiote? You fight Kraven as Venom? Then you just kill him off? This feels so underwhelming. Hey, are you serious? It's even worse when he gets mentioned like once after his death, and that's it. Harry then gets visions of a past Spider-Man game and thinks, hey, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, that's a pretty good game. Let's do that. Venom pulls up to Peter's new home, that being Aunt May's home, where MJ is at. Harry has a nice little conversation with her and waits for Peter to come home. Peter arrives at the house and a little fight breaks out. Venom gives MJ the symbiote. She then turns into Scream, but that's never said in the game. I mean, that is what the character is called, but it's weird for it to be called that when it wasn't really given to her in the game. Anyway, MJ has an easier time fighting off the symbiote than Peter, which is such cap. You save MJ, then starts fighting the symbiote folks. This game really does look like Web of Shadows. Miles and Peter both gets buried under symbiotes. Martin Lee pulls up, saves Miles, then tries to get the symbiote out of Peter's system. As Miles, we look around in Peter's mind, I guess, and we get a scene that looks awfully similar to the trailer to the first Spider-Man game, where the Sinister Six is beating down on Peter. Miles and Martin Lee saves Peter. Nice. But it didn't get rid of the symbiote. You see, the symbiote turned into the anti-symbiote, which kind of looks like the Future Foundation suit a little bit. All right, full stop. If you guys don't know, in the comics, Eddie Brock, who is usually Venom, gets cancer and Mr. Negative cures it, but the treatment side effect made the symbiote into anti-that. Basically what happens to Peter, I guess, but with cancer. I'm sure people guessed that you would keep the symbiote of some kind, because there's no way Insomniac, or any game developer for that matter, would add a whole new improved fighting system in a game just so that way you can use it in a few missions and then never use it again. Obviously, you were going to keep the symbiote in some way for gameplay purposes. Ugh! Wait, hold on, let me get this straight. So Miles Morales, during a literal alien invasion, decides, I think now is a good time to make a brand new suit. And wait, hold on. What do you mean it's time for a Miles Morales original?
It's time for a Miles Morales original, you know? One of one. It looks good.
The black and red suit was the Miles Morales original. What are you talking about? This suit is so ugly. Peter, Miles, and MJ sets up a whole plan to stop Venom. Peter distracts Venom while Miles and MJ do their thing with the meteorite, and oh my gosh, Venom with rings is actually horrifying. Also, these action sequences are pretty solid. A whole bunch of fighting shenanigans happens, and you get a Jujutsu Kaisen level beatdown on Venom in the sky. This final battle was so hype, but it felt like it dragged a little bit in my opinion. Anyway, our trio heroes destroys the symbiote and it's all gone. Poof. Like it never existed. But for some reason, Peter gets to keep his, even though it should have been destroyed too, but whatever. It looks like Harry is going to die, but Miles saves him, but barely. Norman blames Spider-Man for his son being an actual vegetable. Peter reboots the Emily May Foundation in his garage. Miles, yet again, blows his cover for the millionth time in-game, and the game ends with Peter and MJ kissing. I lied. We cut to Norman paying a visit to Otto Octavius. Norman tells Otto about his son's health. Otto doesn't care about Harry's health, then tells us he's writing the final chapter, implying the next game will be the last in the series, or the last game before they kill Peter Parker off and Miles becomes the only Spider-Man. Then the game ends. I lied. Miles is waiting for his mom's date to arrive for dinner, and the game debuts Rio Morales' boyfriend, Albert Moon, and his daughter, Sydney Moon. Sydney is a Spider-Person in the comics, so when I said if Peter dies, Miles would be the only Spider-Man, that's true, he would be the only Spider-Man, but not the only Spider-Person. Sydney Moon is known as Silk in the comics. Anyway, that is actually the end of the game this time. Fade to black, roll credits. The gameplay of this game was alright, it was pretty good, amazing. Spectacular, some would even say, even with some step backs like I said from the beginning with the suits and gadgets. But the story overall was kind of meh. I mentioned this earlier, but Miles really felt like a nothing character in this game, story-wise. Like I said, you can cut him out of this game and most of the story would work just fine. His missions were fun, but like, it didn't really add anything to the story. Like, he had this thing with Black Cat and Martin Lee and that's it. And his thing with the Prowler was really good, but it only lasted for like 1 minute in this entire 20-hour long game. And the Tinkerer, Finn, she was in the last game, but she died. And she doesn't really get mentioned in this game. All of Miles' villains and allies, with the exception of Genki and Haley, are all Peters. Same thing I jokingly said about Agent Venom, but seriously. Miles took Peter's whole flow, word for word, bar for bar! It's even like this in the comic books, TV shows, and movies. Well, just the first one. But Miles' main villain being the same as Peter's in the movie makes sense. And it makes sense in this game too with Martin Lee. Look, I'm just saying, Miles needs his own thing. He can't keep piggybacking off of Peter's everything. As for the story, it was fine, I guess, but it could have been a lot better. That's all I've got for this one. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll start making some more consistent uploads again. Yeah, your boy lately have been slacking. But that's it. That's the video. We're done here.